Okay, well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the NYU Stern Executive MBA program, DC Student Perspectives. I am joined tonight by three incredible students from the EMBA DC program who will be sharing a little bit more about their students' experience in the program. So to quickly start, my name is William Liao. I am part of the NYU Stern Executive MBA programs admissions team. And with that said, I am one with the audience today. I am here to ask questions on your behalf to help you learn more about the student experience and for me to also hear more about our student stories. So it's certainly a win-win situation today. So I think it'll be helpful for the three of our students here today to introduce themselves, just quickly name, the company, the title that you work in, and just your class. So those three things, and then maybe I'll talk a little bit about the DC program's format before, just to provide some context, and then we'll start with some questions to really dive into your student experience. So I am going to assign order just so then we can do it more efficiently. So Ramneek, you're first on my screen, and then we'll popcorn it to Will, and then last but not least to Dave. How's that?
Good. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ramneek Kaur. I am a senior business analyst at T. Rowe Price, and I am part of the EMBA class 2026.
Alrighty. Hi, all. Thanks for joining. Appreciate the time. My name is Will Sook. My role at Cisco Systems is Global Partner Executive, focused on innovation, integration, and joint go-to-market strategy and execution. Also part of DC 26, based in Bethesda, Maryland.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dave Muelling. I am a strategic planner at the National Guard Bureau. Most of my job, if I were to sum it up, would be I take big nuggets of information, distill it down for senior leaders to give them some decision space to make choices on some very broad and kind of long-term budgetary policy type objectives. And I'm also a member of the esteemed DC 26 class.
Incredible. Well, thank you all three of you so much for the introduction. And to quickly give our attendees a little bit of context about the program's format. So it is a program that starts every August, and it runs typically once a month on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday schedule for 2 years. And the 2 years are separated into year one and year two, where year one is focused on your core courses. So you are taking foundational business courses like foundations of finance, leadership and organization, strategy, marketing, accounting, and so forth. And then in year two, you will dive more into the elective courses. So in year one, there are going to be two required week-long residencies. So the first one is a week-long residency in New York State, where you'll be joining the New York City cohort who also starts in August. So you'll be taking classes that entire week in the SWORD Professional Conference Center. And then a couple months into the program, you will be going to your first global immersion experience, which is another week-long session in a different country where you're going to be getting your global exposure in that way. So those are the first two required residencies in the program. And then in year two, you start off again next year, the following year in August with a 1 week long residency where you will be kickstarting your elective courses for that entire week. So that would be your third required residency, followed by a global immersion experience in year two, which will be an elective course. So it is optional to take that if you would like. Otherwise, you can sort of substitute that with another course that may be of interest to you. And we will talk a little bit more about the global immersion experience with our three students who have been to Abu Dhabi, I believe, in the first year. And if you are going to year two global immersion experience, it would be drumroll. We'll review that in a little bit. So you got to stay tuned for the video. So with that said, after this 2 years in a program, you will be getting an MBA in general management. So no matter which program you participate in at NYU Stern, whether it's full-time, part-time, or executive MBA, it is an MBA in general management with an opportunity to specialize in up to 3 different areas in the program. So if you have any questions about the program format, you're more than welcome to put that in the Q&A, and we'll get to some of those questions at the end. And I will certainly leave some opportunities for our attendees today to ask questions to our students as well. So please keep them in the Q&A, and we'll ask them towards the end. All right, so enough about the DC formats, and I'd love to dive into some questions. So with that said, I think one of the main questions a lot of people will be interested in is understanding why you chose NYU Stern. You're here as students, you're all year 2 students, taking elective courses, and you've kind of gone through some of the process now. So, tell us a little bit more about your interest in school. Why did you choose us? And maybe we'll go reverse order. We'll start with Dave, Will, and then Ramneek.
Okay. Well, it wasn't just one thing for me on why I choose Stern. There was a few things. First, I'm just generally curious about the world, and my background in the military, very limited, I'd say, experience with the business community. So I wanted to know about it as much as I could. With it being Stern, New York City, financial capital, arguably, of the world. I thought that was a great place to go to choose that. It's widened my aperture on things that I understand. I wanted to have a better understanding of like the lexicon that I hear on Bloomberg every day. I wanted to be able to speak the language that the civilian sector covers. And I also saw in the curriculum that speaking, high stakes communication, that was a part of the program. And, that's something I always try to do better at. I would say I'm generally better at writing than I am at on my oral communication. I wanted to improve that. And I've gotten that in spades in terms of instruction. I'm still working on doing better personally, but there's a ton of classes and opportunities to improve both your written and oral communication at Stern. And yeah, I think I've rattled on enough, so I'll pass it on to the next person.
That was great, Dave. So my answer, I think I'm next up in this reverse order. I joined the EMBA program, or was pursuing Stern. I was at a bit of an inflection point in my career, leading some high impact initiatives and navigating some complex partnerships, but feel like I needed a broader framework to think more strategically and grow as a leader. And it really came down to 3 things, and it was the caliber of the cohort, the global perspective embedded in the curriculum, and the program's focus on not just developing better executives, but also more empathetic, ethical leaders. Something that you'll hear should you enroll, you'll be asked, are you an advancer, a pivoter, or an entrepreneur? And I had and maybe still do have the best non-answer, and that is that, I went in thinking, okay, let's advance, let's go up the rungs of Cisco. Not that I was closed-minded at all to the possibility of a pivot. And I'm glad I wasn't, because now I am considering a bit of that. And then, I do some advisory work for startups on the side. So the entrepreneur lens really resonated with me as well. But the fact that these are the 3 kind of core pillars were all, I think, intriguing from my perspective.
All right, so I won't repeat some of the answers that Dave and Will said. So I'll say some of the other more fun reasons why I chose Stern. So I originally am from New York, so that was already a selling point for me. I'm now living in Maryland, so having a piece of New York is great. And the fact that there's a program in DC that I can easily commute to was perfect. The flexibility of the program is amazing. We have classes once a month, like William had said, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we only need to take 1 day off from work for classes. And that really allows me to really be immersed in class weekends, but then also kind of get back to my home life and work life. So those are two additional reasons in addition to kind of what Will and Dave said. Of course, the professors are great. The caliber of the program is amazing. What we're learning is really, really applicable every day. And we have really close to our cohort mates, which is another added bonus. So
Amazing. Well, thank you all three of you for sharing it, again, speaking so highly of the program and your experience thus far. And Ramnik, you've mentioned towards the tail end of it, a little bit about your cohort. So I'd love to understand. Just tell us a little bit about your cohort. I know we call our students on the panel here today code names, DC26. And what is DC26? It is the DC cohort, and they graduate year 2026. So tell us a little bit about DC26. What's the makeup of your class, and what's that cohort like?
Yeah, we're a class of about 35 people. So we're small enough that we can really get to know each other, but we're big enough where we have a lot of diverse perspectives and experiences. So being in the DC area, Virginia area, we do have a lot of military. So Dave is part of that group with us as well. But we have a lot of people coming from different parts of the United States and the world. So we have people flying in from Seattle, Peru. So it's just really great to be in a room with all these people that I normally might not have been with. And for 2 years, we're all in the trenches together during class, helping each other out, trying to, get our homework done. Sitting in class can be tiring, but when you have really fun people around you that are kind of keeping you motivated, asking really intriguing questions in class, it really makes the time go by so much quicker.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, anything to add, Will and Dave, in terms of your cohort makeup?
Sure, definitely echo everything Ramnik just said. I think we're really fortunate. We've got a very strong, tight-knit cohort, surrounded by peers from all sorts of industries, functions, backgrounds, which means you're constantly exposed to new perspectives and ways of thinking. And this collaborative environment, again, creates that tight-knit community where you learn just as much from your classmates at times as you do from the faculty, which is something to be said because it's a renowned faculty. But yeah, I would just say that you'll learn a lot from those that surround you, which is great.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that I think it's sort of been said, but we are an extremely diverse group in terms of demographics, in terms of political persuasions. I mean, it's every direction. I think what connects all of us is we all are genuinely curious about others' perspectives. And so because of that, like Will said, we have some awesome conversations, and we're a pretty tight-knit group. There's not, I wouldn't say there's really many cliques in our group. If you're taking a break, you'll be in one group, you'll talk to a couple of folks, and the next break you're hanging out at another table. It's just a great mix, and it makes it fun. We have trouble going back to class sometimes because we just get caught up in conversation.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much for sharing and giving a sort of window to the cohort that you're in. So I think we'll also let some of our audience members sort of drive some of the conversation here. So, I think we're talking about classes that you've taken, and Dave, you mentioned one which is high stakes communications. Talk a little bit more about those electives in year 2, right? So how does that sort of work? And maybe you can share a class that you've taken maybe that was interesting or insightful, and just maybe some learnings from those classes. So I know Dave, you just spoke, so maybe I'll give you some time to sort of think about it, but Ramnik, I'll let you start first if you like.
Yeah, I think the core classes built a really great foundation for us, but the electives definitely let you get more of that catered experience. So we have 2 classes that we take each session, and then there are 2 options during those for each elective. So your class will effectively get split. Sometimes it's not exactly in half. You might have 7 people in one class and then, 20 something in the other. But I really enjoy the fact that we get to choose, and they really try to pair classes that are pretty similar together. So then you kind of can, you're not feeling too bad about missing another class. But there also is the opportunity after you graduate to audit classes. So if there's something that you miss that you really want to take when you really couldn't figure out which one to take, there's always going to be that option after you graduate. So I think, yeah, I've enjoyed so far. I also took the high stakes communication class. It was, I think, my favorite class so far. It was super impactful. It just gave me a sense of confidence that I've been carrying since, and the professors are great. It's a duo professor situation in that class, which is very unique, and they just both feed off of each other and just keep us laughing. And I learned so much without even realizing that I learned so much, which was great.
Great. Thanks so much, Ramneek. Maybe Will, if you can share a class that you've taken so far.
Yes, certainly. So just for some additional context is that this year 2 can help. You have the option to pursue a specialization or two. And so by, identifying which credits apply to which specializations, you can, kind of take your pick of the mix in that vein. Or you can just say, okay, here are my gaps as far as skills are concerned. I want to take those, or let's reinforce my strengths. So you're not, you don't have to do a specialization, but it can help maybe guide your train of thought and your structure as you select which electives. I was also in high stakes communication, so I don't have to reinforce that one. It was awesome. Also in data-driven decision making, and I've been in, I'm still taking analytics and machine learning for managers. And so this is something that's pretty unique to Stern, is that they have realized and have emphasized the need for an understanding in this AI and ML and analytical world that we're in now, and have esteemed professors that are capable of teaching it in incredible detail. And so that, obviously some hard skills mixed in with the more like stand and deliver type engagements, such as high stakes communication. And it provides a really, robust combination of curriculum.
Well, y'all took all of my favorite classes from the electives, and we've only had 4 classes.
I think there's one more.
Y'all just covered 2 more. Well, anyway. No, I would, if I had a second, a class that I really liked from the core, negotiations was fantastic. It was a lot of work for sure goes into each weekend, but the professor that we had, you'd spend as much time on application as you did on academics. And the bargaining zone, each person would go in with their own set of information. You aren't omnipresent on all this stuff. And so you would go into a negotiation thinking you had all the pieces to the puzzle, and you didn't. And sometimes the best thing to do is to walk away. And sometimes the best thing is for both of you to win. And so it was just a fun class that you learn how to get creative to make it so you can, we call it expanding the pie, so that everybody, the sum of the parts actually is better. Or wait, what did I get wrong? I think I'm messing it up. You end up with more than, if I have $500, someone else has $500, our sum is $1,500 somehow. And I got into Stern. Back over to you, William.
Dave, thank you so much. And I love the idea of, speaking about one of the core, that's also very important as you kind of sort of lay out the foundations, when you can also think about high stakes communications too. So I'm sure some of the skill sets from the core can translate into some of the advanced courses during the electives, which is really fascinating. Thank you so much for all 3 of you for highlighting those courses. And it sounds like high stakes communications is a very popular course. So note to your attendees, so please watch out for that class. Amazing. So with that said, I wanted to touch a little bit on specializations, right? So, obviously people don't need to specialize in a program. It is an optional thing for you to do. If you want, you can specialize up to 3 different areas. You don't have to. Some people walk into the program saying, I am going to specialize in strategy. I am going to take elective courses in strategy. But there are also people who just take whatever courses seems interesting to them. And then at the end of the program, see if any of those elective courses amass to any sort of specialization that they can get at the end. So are any of 3 of you specializing in any area? And if you are, no? Will, are you specializing in? Okay.
I am. Yes, I am specializing in corporate finance as well as management of technology operations. I wanted to pursue the corporate finance bit. I think being a little more dangerous around the balance sheet's important in most lines of business. Just having that literacy from a financial perspective. Not that I was illiterate before, but it's Stern. It's it's in New York. There's a financial hub there that trickles to DC, even if you're in the DC cohort. And so, like I've referenced previously, the faculty and curriculum just really help to reinforce that if that's your interest. And I was trying to tack on a second one and kind of just backed into it by way of what I just wanted to take. And the management of technology operations one is it will be a byproduct of a lot of the coursework that I referenced previously as well, such as the analytics and the data-driven decision making. I think there's another AI class coming up, and so that's that. And then finance is like valuation, corporate finance foundations you'll take as core in the first year. Private equity. These are all just examples of some of the electives that I selected.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thank you so much. And Will, do you know how many classes you're taking in order to get that specialization?
No more than I have to, actually. So I know that there are ways in which if you want to tack on, I think you can do up to 3 specializations. And so that may require you add on. Lango in the part-time program enables you to take additional coursework either up in New York or virtually. And so I think you can get to 2 without actually having, unless I'm missing something and I'm not actually specializing in 2. No, I've reviewed it to extent, I'm pretty certain. And so you can get 3, you probably have to take in some additional work. And so that's just, an exercise in time management, of course, but certainly doable. We know folks in our cohort who have added some stuff on based on specializations and or general interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the idea that maybe I'll take a minute to talk about some of the lifelong benefits that our alumni have as part of NYU Stern. I think going back to what you said, Ramdik, earlier about having 2 set of courses where they're similar enough that you don't sort of feel like you're missing out on taking the other course. But the great thing about the lifelong benefit is that there is that sort of learning component where our alumni can take free elective courses every semester each year. So if there's a course that you couldn't take while you're a student, it may be offered while you are an alumni, and you can tune into those classes remotely online as well. So a quick fun fact about myself, I went to NYU for undergrad. I also did my MBA from NYU as well. So after having graduated, I am now eligible to take a course, which will start later this month. It is called Leading in the Age of AI with Professor Anak Lechner, and I am so excited to tune into that online. So it's just one of the great ways just to continue learning after graduating the program. And I do miss that sort of being in the classroom environment and so forth. So I am so looking forward to it and just being that student again. So thank you so much for that opportunity to share that. Great. So I think the next thing is, and when we were talking about courses, I'm surprised no one talked about the global immersion experience. That should have been the most favorite class that you've taken. So I'll give you a chance to redeem yourselves and just talk a little bit more about the global immersion experience to Abu Dhabi in year 1. So anyone can get started. You can tell us a little bit about what the pre-deliverables are, if there were any. What was it like on the ground in Abu Dhabi? Where did you go? What did you do? What did you learn? And then what happened right afterwards on the global immersion experience? So. Maybe Ramneek, we'll start with you to kind of talk about the pre-deliverables, and then we can go from there.
Sure. And the reason why I didn't mention it was because part of it didn't even feel like a class. It felt like we just went on a group trip together. So that kind of speaks to it, but really did learn a lot. So the pre-deliverables, we were broken out into groups, and then we did some research on the place that we were going. So then each group was assigned like a specific topic. And then we did like a quick poster slam before we all left. And so that way we got to, and again, like connect with some of our cohort mates, get to know them a little bit better before the trip, and then get to know about the area in so many different facets really, really quickly. And then we had access to that poster slam decks during the trip as well. So it was cool to get the perspective of the whole country without having to do the full research yourself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yep, Dave.
I was gonna say I'll try to provide a little more like what were some of the things that we did that I thought were a lot of fun or really insightful. So we actually got to talk to the former ambassador to the UAE and just had it was like an hour and a half discussion about globalization, how the UAE really I unintentionally placed the United States in the center of the world. It's just kind of, how I grew up. It's where I am. And going over there, he helped us to really understand that for a large chunk of the world, the UAE is at the center between Europe, Africa, and Asia. It all meets there in the middle. And they understand the strategy that goes behind doing more than just fossil fuels. And so we had a chance to talk to some of the government officials that were there, some of the other universities that were there. Had just a really great time, kind of appreciating how they built. It was Dubai. It wasn't Abu Dhabi. Dubai. How they built a city out of a desert, and found a way to bring in just an absurd amount of water to a desolate place. So had a great time. Learned how to negotiate in a bazaar, open air bazaar. That was fun. Some were better than others, but I'll leave that to others to discuss. Will, is there anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, wonderful experience. And before the trip, I had a general awareness that Gulf economies were investing in innovation, but I largely saw this tied to real estate projects or tourism. And those pre-departure presentations hinted at their broader ambitions. And by the way, our cohort was presenting alongside DC 25. And so many of the class above us were also going on this trip. But it wasn't until this on the ground immersion that I fully grasped how deeply the entrepreneurship and the digital infrastructure are shaping that region's long-term transformation. And the UAE's innovation strategy isn't just about adopting new tech, it's about re-architecting entire sectors, while keeping in mind sustainability, scalability, and self-sufficiency. And so it was very eye-opening, literally defining the future of energy and infrastructure through entrepreneurial leadership. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you've also had the opportunity to go to NYU Abu Dhabi. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, that was a great experience. The dean spoke to us. He actually came, I think maybe his daughter is in school around here, and he came by the DC campus, and it was cool. We just saw him across the world, and then he was right there, in class too. So yeah, he had some really great things to say.
Yeah, I think that's just the magic of NYU being such a global school with campuses all around the world. And I can't even think of an anecdote where our students went to Barcelona in Spain, and they had an alumni there, sort of from the EMBA program, just randomly, so they just saw them, and then the next day they organized him to come speak with our students. It was just that magical. So yeah, lots of incredible stories happen because of the sort of global aspect of NYU. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about that local market immersion that you have in as part of the global immersion experience. So what was that like, and what did you do? And tell us a little bit about that. Will, I feel like you
Okay.
want to say
All right.
something.
Yeah, sure. Well, what was it? We went to the spice souk, the gold souk. These are just terms for market, essentially. We were put into groups at random with those from our cohort, those with the cohort above us, to identify perhaps any problems observed from an economical perspective, and identify perhaps inefficiencies if there were any, and identify and kind of co-create this plan, the solution. My recollection is that while visiting the Gold Souk, my group noticed a gap between the high value of products being sold and the level of consumer trust and comfort. And so we proposed this confidence Gold Souk certified is what it was called, so that the different vendors could partner with regional partnerships with like those more uh, familiarized in Europe or the US or what have you, and be a verified vendor and form this exclusive Gold Souk luxury collective and all this sort of stuff. And it was just interesting to kind of be in an area that you really have no context for, and create essentially a business plan out of your observations with people that you may not be that familiar with. So really on your toes, and then we all presented at the end in the ballroom at the hotel. All the different groups presented their plans, and some really innovative ideas out there.
Yeah, that's incredible. Will, thank you so much for sharing that. And I am also going to post in the chat just a LinkedIn post that we did of your global immersion experience for our attendees to sort of tune in. It is a post on LinkedIn, so you're more than welcome to sort of tune into that and take a look at some of the pictures and the companies that they went to. So there you go. All right. So the next question that I'd like to ask is, you're all working professionals. You have families, and you have a lot of things going on in your life. And I think one of the biggest questions to ask is, how do you balance everything in terms of work and school and your personal obligations and so forth?
I
I'll
could
take it to start. I think it's like most other things. You learn, you have to get in front of whatever the schedule is. The professors are pretty good about giving you your schedule in advance, and the workload, and you just kind of line that up against whatever is going on in your personal life. You get the NYU weekend schedule. We get it like, I mean, months out, 4 or 5 months out. So I have plenty of time. Like me, so me personally, I have a wife and 2 kids, 3 dogs and a cat, and so I've got a lot going on personally, and then I've got work to boot on top of that. And I also took a military course that took up quite a bit of time, in addition to my full-time job in the military. So I say all that to say there's quite a bit I was juggling, but it's totally doable if you just take a little bit of time to take a look at that class schedule. Make sure you communicate with your spouse, communicate with line up the child care. And I will say the professors are very reasonable. Life happens. You should do your best to get to class, but sometimes, my wife had a health issue earlier this year, and I was not able to make it to class, and I came up with a backup plan with the professors. I was able to make up the work. And there's life events that are going to happen. They're very reasonable with you though. So I'd say look at the schedule, and if you see a concern, just communicate quickly with the professor, and it works itself out.
Thanks, Dave. And Ramnik, I think you wanted to chime in at the same time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you really are gonna have to lean on your support systems outside of the school and then within the school as well. So if there are tasks that you normally do in your everyday life, there might be a couple of things that you kind of offload to some of your loved ones or the people around you. Um, Having that support system is super important. In our first year, we are given study groups. So it's another way for us to just get closer to some of our cohort mates. So you can lean on your study group if you're kind of falling behind on something. If you don't understand a topic, you can reach out to somebody else. They do a pretty good job of mixing the groups up with industry experience and things like that. So if someone's in the finance sector and you're taking the finance course, then you have somebody they can reach out to kind of help you catch up. So kind of just lean on all those resources, and it's definitely doable. I think just being in the collegiate environment, your brain is just more stimulated, so then for some reason like you're able to handle more. At least that's been my experience. So you're definitely more resilient, I think, than you may think. But it's totally worth it. Like once you are like we're already done with year one. I don't even know where the time went. We're coming up to finishing this semester, so the time really does fly. But it's great. It's totally worth it.
Awesome. And Will, do you have anything more to add and how you balance everything?
Sure. About a month after I enrolled, we found out that my wife was pregnant. And so that, created interesting logistics around school. But again, to Dave's point, very receptive to life happenings, Stern is. But, just be intentional with your time and proactive with your planning. If you're considering Stern for EMBA, there's a decent chance you're operating at a level that you can figure out, time management exercises. And yeah, I think, being that it's month to month, the class weekends, you can delay on deliverables until that last week if you so choose. If you can't get it done, it's going to be a little bit more that last week, or you can parse it out over 3-4 weeks, right? And so it just depends on whatever makes most sense in your world.
Yeah. Dave?
I just add on, I'm a 100 IQ guy, like 100% in the middle of the population. Maybe 4-5 hours a week. It's not too bad. There are some courses that are a little harder than others, but for me personally, 4-5 hours a week, it's not too bad, and the courses are great. So that's it.
Dave, you are a very humble person, but so I would have to say.
Science validated it.
We have to do a retest because you're obviously in the program, you're doing well, so I'm sure your IQ is up to par. And our whole thing is IQ plus EQ, Dave. That's us. All right, so I wanted to backtrack a little. I know I promised to share the year 2 global immersion experience destination, and I don't know who wants to do the honors and share where you're going. Dave, go for it.
I was trying to figure out, like, was there a way we could collaborate and the three of us, like, all do it? I'll do the first letter, S.
E, I think, yeah.
O.
U. L.
L.
Nice.
Going to
Got
Seoul,
there.
baby. Seoul, South Korea.
I was
That was good.
that was good.
Yeah, we managed that well. You wouldn't believe we didn't plan that ahead of time.
I was getting a little nervous when you said E because I was hoping I thought you'll say O to spell South Korea,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that was great. I mean, either works, either works. But yes, our students in DC will be going to Seoul, South Korea next year in late April to early May. So it's exciting to just visit another country with a different sort of culture. And our first one was to Dubai. Now it is to an Asian country. So really great to kind of see 2 different economies and two different cultures working, and how they approach business, which is going to be very different. So I'm excited for you. I've been to South Korea many a times, so if you want any tips, feel free to come to me. Excellent. All right. So the next thing I want to dive into is in regards to resources that are available here at Stern. You know, there's so many to kind of think about. You know, we're thinking about career resources, we're thinking about different centers and institutes. So, you know, I think particularly interesting is for you, Dave, is because you are a veteran. You know, I think as you're thinking, you're here for in the program to kind of learn more about, you know, the civilian side of business. And, you know, of course, there's a lot of transitioning sort of themes that are going on. So what are some of the resources that as you've utilized in a program that has supported you through your journey as a veteran, or even through your personal growth?
Sure. So I'll start with as a veteran, and I'll say up front, they do a great job of making it pretty seamless to get all the financial things put in order for you. There's a network of specific veterans that you could reach out to that work on the NYU faculty, and they have a weekly mailer that goes out. It's the veteran services is it's pretty seamless as far as that's concerned. I'm always just kind of I worry about money. That's just kind of my nature, and I was just concerned about things not lining up like they should. And you know, it's gone pretty well. They made it pretty easy for me to knock out everything I need to do when it came to financial aid. If I'm going to expand it out, and I'll try not to talk too much to cover up what Ramneek and Will were going to say. There's so many opportunities. You really just have to make sure you talk to your classmates, look at your emails. I mean, there's professional workshops that they do on class weekends at campus to make it easy for you, at campus here in DC, at campus in New York. There are, you know, interview training, resume training. There's a litany of things you can do. There's even an online library. There's other things I'm thinking of, but I'm going to stop because I don't want to take everything from the other two. So maybe maybe Ramneek, you want to pick it up next?
Yeah, I think the Career Center is a really great resource. You can schedule meetings with them to talk about anything specific, or like Dave mentioned, they do have workshops. If you kind of just want to maybe practice your pitch or work on negotiations, there's a variety of topics that you can talk to them about. I've gone in being like, you know, back to kind of what Will was saying in the beginning with, are you a pivoter, advancer? I'm kind of open to anything. And I want this MBA to kind of continue to open my mind on different things that I can do. So, you know, one of my sessions was just, I don't know what I want to do. So I kind of would like some resources or ways to talk through things to figure it out. So yeah, I think that's definitely a resource that is great. And it's another one that's available to you post graduation as well. So it's great that we have that forever.
So I think most items have been touched on already, but I'll just maybe speak to some other opportunities that you know you're privy to, and that is like the network, right? There's professional insights, speaker sessions, speaker series from alum who chat about what they're doing, what they were doing, how Stern, you know, became that bridge to those, you know, between those two things. There's a networking roulette. So the administration will ask you if you want to participate and then send out an email every month pairing you with someone from a cohort past, right? And so this could be someone that graduated 20 years ago, someone who graduated last year. So I think, you know, taking advantage of that is really important. And then additionally, there are various entrepreneurship challenges that you could pursue. And then learn from, you know, all these various individuals who have perhaps gone through that process as well. And so it is what you make of it. If you're there for just the class, you could do that. And if you want to do these other things, you can do that too. And so the optionality is rather comprehensive.
Great, excellent. I just shared in the chat just a little bit more about veteran benefits for those who are in attendance, are part of the military, part of the veteran community. And you can learn a little bit more about what that process is like, and also that NYU Stern is proud to be a part of the Yellow Ribbon program. So you're more than welcome to take a look into that. And as you think about applying to the program, you can submit a free pre-assessment, and then once we get your pre-assessment, we can connect you with our SCO, who would be able to sort of make it as easy as possible for you to learn more about the benefits. Dave, you can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I was just say, if you're a veteran and concerned that you can't afford this program, you shouldn't think you can't afford this. You should thank our elected officials, thank your parents for voting for them. The American people are very generous with our veterans, and I'm grateful for that. That's it.
Awesome. And thank you, Dave, again. I don't say this enough, but thank you so much for your service every day. Great. And with that said, thank you so much for touching on so many of the resources. You talked about the careers, services for a bit, and for all our attendees, that is also part of your lifelong benefits as alumni of NYU Stern. So whoever career coaches that you are speaking with as a student, you have the same access to them after you graduate, whether it is, whether you are thinking about advancing in your career, or if you're thinking about making pivots like Will, or if you are thinking becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business. I think the career coaches are there to help you every step of the way to really think a little bit more about what those next steps would look like. So definitely take advantage of that. There's a slew of different lifelong benefits that are available to you. We're happy to share more resources for that. But I'll say that the career coaching services, as well as those lifelong learning benefits and the networking benefits, are certainly the top three that we can sort of think about at this time. Great, amazing. One other thing I wanted to talk about is that last weekend you were here in New York City for classes, right? So tell us a little bit more about that experience. And before that, to give a bit of context, our DC students are able to come on certain weekends within the year to study in the NYC campus. And those are typically combined weekends with our NYC cohort. So it is a mega special weekend for us. It's always the funnest time of the year. So I'll let our students do more of the talking. So yeah, Will, do you have
I think it
yours?
was, I think there were 6 cohorts, 350 students, something like that. I don't know if that's the exact number, but DC 26, DC 27, and then New York has programs that begin in August as well as January. So A 26, 27, J 26, 27. And so, Stern provided us with a great networking happy hour one of the evenings. And that's just a really, it's impactful to be able to speak to so many different individuals that are going through a similar process as you. Obviously, your individual experience are unique and independent, but how Stern might be impacting those things for you is really fascinating to learn about. And then just being at HQ, if you will, is also rewarding. It's quite the facility, and being right there next to Washington Square, there's a lot of vibrancy around the campus, and taking it all in is really special. So looking forward to doing it again in May.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. At the risk of being like overly poetic, I think the coolest experience for me over the weekend was actually going on an early morning run before class and seeing the city wake up on a weekend. And just everybody, I mean, it's the financial capital of the world. At 6:30 in the morning, the tennis courts were full of folks out playing tennis, runners galore, fishers out doing their thing, the financial district's filling up. You feed off of that energy of all those folks, and you see capitalism waking up. It's pretty awesome, and just people out there getting after it. It's great.
Yeah, I like I mentioned in the beginning of the call, I'm from New York, so anytime I have an excuse to go back, I'm super excited. So Just love the city, love connecting again with the New York cohort. So we started off with them in orientation, get to see them again. And then this year we got to, meet the new A26s and the A27s, J27s. So it was great to just kind of meet everybody and get us all together. And then, there's so many options for stuff to do afterwards as well in New York. So it's a great treat to have. But I do love the DC campus a lot. It's definitely more of a mild time. So you get a little bit of the hustle and bustle when you're in the New York location, and then you get your calm collegiate, DC experience as well. So it's a good balance.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing, insights in terms of your trip here to New York City. It was so fun to see all of you. And I think both places are so beautiful, especially in DC when you have the cherry blossom seasons. It's unmatched. And just the view by the wharf, it's absolutely stunning. New York City has a lot to offer as well, but DC does have its charm and its perks as well. So I love that. Amazing. So I think we may have time for one question to ask, and then I'm happy to open it up to the audience. It's in regards to, maybe I'll ask two more. One is, how has the program really benefited you in professionally and personally? And you can potentially, you've taken a lot of courses, and how is that translating back to your work and your own development?
So for me, there's immediate applicability of the learning. The curriculum combines foundational business knowledge along with real world case studies. And group projects and presentations and such. So what you learn on Friday, Saturday, Sunday can be put into action on Monday. So it's not just theory. It's tools and insights that you can use right away. So I would say that's been compelling. And then, the network as well. I'll harp on that again. That's not just when you're there either, though. It's a lifelong resource. And, there are folks in the cohort that I'll stay in touch with, forever. So I think that's very unique.
I'm going to defer. Hopefully, I want to give the audience a chance to get a question in.
Yeah, there's one that came in for you, Will. Yep. So you've mentioned that you've learned a lot from the diversity of our cohorts, and because you've mentioned how much they come from all different sorts of backgrounds and whatnot. So what are some world perspectives that you've gained from your experience that has surprised you?
Surprised me. So being that the diversity of both demographic and intellectual diversity was one of the key reasons why I wanted to go to Stern. I don't know if surprise is the right way I would put it, but I don't know. I think that this whole blend of the community with the academic rigor, you're able to kind of take pride in the breadth and the depth of the program, if that makes sense. And you can showcase, I guess, the cohort showcases the diversity of perspectives and experiences, as I previously mentioned. But I hope that we can take that as a cohort and inspire others, such as those on the call here, to see Stern as a place where they can grow both professionally and personally. I don't know if that answers your question, whomever asked that, but I hope I got near the ballpark.
Awesome. And maybe Dave, you can answer just one. So this is going to be a rapid fire question. So I'll sort of go to you next, Ramnik, for the next one. But for Dave, if you could give one piece of advice that you wish you would have known, what would it be?
I came prepared. I don't know. Like I feel like everything, don't stress it. You can do it. Is that short and sweet enough? Don't stress, you can do it. It's doable.
It's just it's that can-do mentality. I think anyone can do the EMBA program, and you know, it certainly sounds intimidating and whatnot, but I think that at the end of the day, you learn so much, you get so much out of it, and it's always a good time. So I don't know, Ramnik, if you have a piece of advice that you'd like to share as well.
I guess when I first came in, I was a little bit nervous. You know, I knew that this would be a very high caliber group of people, wanting to make sure that, you know, I didn't come off as someone who like just made it at the end of the roster or something. And I think a lot of people were kind of, you know, trying to get their, you know, put their best foot forward. So the orientation, the first day was kind of a little bit stiff, and then we all loosened up. And I mean, we're all just humans. We like to have fun. But we also are very like, you know, analytical, like to stimulate our minds. So it's a really fun group to be around. And you can be like, everyone's very down to earth, but so intelligent, which is like the best mix, I think, of people that you can get.
Amazing. Cool. Thank you so much. And one question, this is interesting, I should have brought this up as well, is that your grades are not letter grades, they're a pass-fail system. So this question came in asking, you know, how difficult is it to get a pass with distinction or high pass on that sort of modified pass-fail scale?
There's a quote from oh, go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, it's yeah, there's a percentage. It's not even like a guess, it's a percentage. It's straight up bell curve. I think top 10% get the distinction from each class that you take, and then what is it? Well, like 25 or 30% or high pass.
I forget the precise percentage.
Yeah, I mean, like most of us are not going to get a high pass or a PD.
Oh, come on, Dave. I would say I was going to quote a professor that we had. Sorry, Dave, I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you have more? Okay. We had an accounting professor, and you know, a lot of us are kind of taking tests again for the first time in a while. And so accounting being rigorous, you know, we're kind of nervous about that. He said, you have to have a plan to fail. So, you know, you really got to try to fail is what he was getting at. So they're there to work with you. If you participate, if you do the work, you know, you're going to be fine, if that is of any concern.
Awesome. And I would just
There's
say,
no cap on pass. I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. There's no cap on how many can pass. Just put forth your best effort. Yeah, sorry, Will.
No.
worries. Yeah, so the pass-fail system is designed in that way where it's really your individual journey in terms of your mastery of that particular subject. You don't have to be a wizard at an expert in marketing if that's not going to be your wheelhouse moving forward. But at least it's a challenge to yourself in terms of how much of that sort of concept you've mastered. And you know, it really is a challenge to yourself rather than sort of this sort of environment where you're comparing it to other people. So really is your own individual journey, your way to your level of mastery for a certain class. And at the end of the day, you're here to learn, and you're not here to compete with anyone else, but yourself in terms of the work and the learnings that you have. So it is a very supportive community. I hope that this is something that you've walked away with, and everyone is here to support one another in this journey towards each other's career goals. But with that said, I wanted to quickly thank, first of all, our panelists here, Romney, Dave, and Will, for your time today to share so much about the student experience. It was so insightful, even for me and hopefully for our attendees here today. Second of all, I wanted to thank our attendees for their time here today to really tune in and learn more about your experience. I've put a series of links in the chat, and hopefully that our attendees are able to receive them. But there are more information that you can get on our website. But if you feel like you just wanted to talk to one of us on the admissions team, we're more than happy to give you like a mini info session to answer any of the questions that you have. And of course, the email is here, executive@stern.nyu.edu. You can call us. We're happy to chat with you. Otherwise, we want to also share that our next event is next week, and that is with our academic director, Maher Saeed, who will talk a little bit more about the curriculum. And I see Dave with the 2 OK signs, and if anything, that's a huge support and a positive thing about our academic director. We love him to death. So please feel free to join us. The link is there, so please feel free to register for the event. But other than that, folks, you are more than welcome to log off for the rest of the night, and I'll stay here for a bit longer so that you still have the links in the chat to click on them and save them if you like. But again, thank you so much for your time, and I wish we can do this for longer. It's such an incredible opportunity to just chat with our students during the busy times. So with that said, I look forward to seeing all 3 of you soon again, and all the best in your year 2 global immersion experience in Seoul, South Korea. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yes. All right. Good night, everybody. Take care. Thank you,
Thanks,
Romney.
William. Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone.
Dave. Thank you, Will.
Absolutely. Good night.
Good night.